Hi there, Jean Greer here at Stylish Fireplaces. Today I want to introduce you to the Dimplex Revillusion series of electric inserts. So these are more traditional fireplaces that you can build a cabinet around, or as you see here, we've done a fairly traditional brick display. So these are not linear style fireplaces. These are what we call inserts. So definitely a more traditional look. The Revillusion series is Dimplex's latest and most realistic looking flame set for a traditional firebox. They have lots of traditional fireboxes in their line, but the Revillusion is the most recent and we think the most realistic looking of all of them. Revillusion comes in many sizes, so it starts at 24 inches, 30, which is what I have here, 36. 36P is a 36 portrait, so it's the same width as a 36, but it's a slightly higher version. And then the 42, which is the biggest of all of the series. You can see here this unit has a herringbone brick in the background. So again, a very traditional element. And there are lights that play on that brick that I can adjust, so I could change the coloring of that slightly. And I'll show you that in a moment. The flames, like all Dimplex flames, are very natural in the way that they're set up, and they are not flames that we can change. So they're not going to change color, although there are some colors we can add underneath the flames to get different effects. Very few colors, but there are some adjustments we can make. And other than that, I think the most important thing to realize with the Revillusion is it really was a revolution in how they get the flame effect to look like it's in the center. So with a typical Dimplex insert in the recent past, there would have been a mirrored backdrop behind the logs, and that would give the effect that the flame was in the middle of the logs. So the logs were being reflected and the flame would come up in the center. Unlike many inserts in electric fireplaces where the flame appears to be in the background, Dimplex had a way of having that slightly mirrored effect in the back and making the flames look like they're in the center. With this series, with Revillusion, so it's illusion with an R-E-V in front to mimic the word revolution, they have created a sort of a plexiglass see-through panel in the center. So we're literally looking through into a secondary set of logs, and it's not a mirror any longer. And it really does give the effect of a much deeper fireplace, a much more realistic looking fireplace. So they've done a great job of incorporating this new technology into a traditional firebox. Here you see the regular logs, the standard logs that come with the fire, and those are lit up from within. They recently came out with some alternative log sets, so you can swap out this log set, and so if you have one of these already, you could swap out the logs to fresh cut logs, which, just the way it sounds, are mimicking fresh cut wood sitting in the grate, and they also do a birch set. The difference with those logs is they're not lit from within. So if you think your fireplace is going to be off a lot more than it's on, you might like the look of those logs sitting in the grate, because they are very real looking logs, just they don't light up from within, which typically on an insert these days, the logs would normally have LEDs inside and they would light up to look like the logs are hot and glowing with the fire. We've actually put a screen in front of our Revillusion here in the showroom. Just because it's such a real looking fire, we like the effect of having a real fire screen in front of it. Normally this unit will come with either a simple clear glass panel on the front or a pair of double doors, and those are options. You decide which glass to order, and in fact you don't have to order glass. You could do something like we've done, or if you have your own screen or something, an antique screen, you could put that in front. You do not have to have the glass on this unit. This is sold much more like a builder box, so the components are sold separately. So the basic box is a hardwire unit. It does not come with a plug. It does come with a remote. And then if you want glass on the front, you choose which glass you want, doors or glass. And if you want a plug on the unit, you would order the plug kit. The reason it doesn't come with a plug is because it's a dual voltage unit. So I've talked about dual voltage before. With Dimplex, it's a universal unit, so you don't have to choose one or the other. This unit can connect to 120 volts, which is the regular household current that we have, or you can connect it to 240. So if you were going to put it in a slightly bigger area, or an area that is still going to be cooler than the rest of the house in certain situations, and you want a higher maximum heat output, you could connect to 240. So this is a dual voltage unit. You just order one unit, but you would wire it differently. And of course on 240, there would be no plug, and that's why it's not a standard feature. So you order that separately, just don't forget to do that. In the smaller sizes, the 24 and the 30, Dimplex has also added trim kits. So these are simple black metal frames that can go around 3 sides with a 4th piece, slightly smaller, that can go across the bottom. And those are ideal for retrofitting these inserts into an existing opening. The reason they don't do that with the bigger sizes is typically an existing wood burning opening would not hold the bigger sizes. So there's really no need for a trim kit. The trim kit allows you to put the box into your opening, and where there are gaps, of course, the trim kit is going to cover those gaps for you so that you don't have to start breaking the opening or trying to do something to fill in those gaps and give away the fact that the firebox doesn't fit. So there are trim kits available. And there's also an alternate interior background. So ours has the very traditional herringbone, which was the original interior. They have since come out with what they call weathered concrete. So you would order all of the same sizes, but with a WC weathered concrete, and it would come with a gray background. And I'll cover that another time. What I'm going to do is move the screen away from my unit so that you can see the flame as you would through the clear glass that would normally be put on the front of this. And then we'll change the few settings that we can change with this unit. So now I'm turning off the light that highlights the herringbone brick, and then there's a slightly, what I see as a greenish yellow cast, a warm golden cast, and then a slightly richer reddish cast. So depending on the surround that you have or how much you want to see the brick, you can play around with the lights. And I always say to people, if you don't want to see that brick being so prominent, just keep that backlighting off, and then you won't notice it as much. There's also a light that I'm not sure will show up here, but there are red and blue lights that I can turn on underneath the flames. And those are really just for effect. I mean, the blue gives you the impression of a gas flame where the very hottest part of the flame is blue, not yellow. And so you can add that feature to the fire if you so choose. And that's really it. There aren't a lot of options with Dimplex to change their flame, of course, because it's very natural and they want it to look that way at all times. I'm going to put the screen back on here and just talk about the heat for a moment. So on 120 volts, this would heat up about a 400 square foot area. And at 240, you're going to have a bigger area that you can get enough heat for. So again, like a basement or a bigger room, or just something that's a little colder than you would like. On 120 volts, this will heat up 400 square feet. That covers most rooms in your house. So it's not very often that you need to connect to 240, but just know that this has that option if you need it. There is a thermostat, so the remote allows me to set a specific temperature, like most electric fireplaces from Dimplex these days. So I can say I like this room at 70, and I could leave the heater set there, and it will cycle in and out to keep us at that temperature. And if you were putting this in a guest area, for instance, or in your basement, and it was particularly chilly and you wanted to keep a minimum temperature, you can actually turn the flames off with the heater on and leave it set at your favorite temperature, and then it will keep the room at that temperature. It will just cycle the heater on and off without the flames running. and keep you at that minimum temperature. And that's something that we do here in the showroom, because we do use these fireplaces to heat up the place in the cold weather, and we don't leave the flames running all night. We just set a minimum temperature and allow the fireplaces to control the temperature overnight. So that's the Dimplex Revillusion. You'll find it at stylishfireplaces.ca under Dimplex, and then scroll down to Revillusion, or look under electric fireplace inserts and fireboxes, and you'll see it there as well. And these are at stylishfireplaces.ca.